Right. So I guess we'll get started right now. It's 10:45. Hey guys, good morning. My name's Miguel Torres. I teach government and economics at PSJA Early College High School. I kind of want to show you a couple of tricks and tools to use, especially what we did during the summer. Our curriculum coordinators and the curriculum writers, what we did was we used these two different tools, especially called Magic School, and the other one was also just called Copilot. And so what we're doing is we're using AI basically to help us coordinate our curriculum and help us with our planning and help us with our assessments. And also there's assessments that already basically can be generated and grade for you. So what's happening is it saves us a lot of time instead of coming back home and having to carry a lot of work with us. So although I know this is Copilot for social studies in ELA, I'm also going to just introduce a little bit of Magic School because I think they kind of go in tandem. What I mean in that is Copilot is kind of like ChatGPT in a way, in terms of what they similarly do. The thing that's different about Copilot that I like more than ChatGPT is it actually gives you the references and the sources of where what you're typing comes from. So if you happen to, you know, Google something about, World War II, it'll go ahead and it'll give you references from like the Britannica, the Encyclopedia, and so forth. Whereas if you use regular ChatGPT, it'll just kind of just spit out some information and you want to know where the sources actually come from. So that's the reason that I feel like that we should be using Copilot, and I'll show you how to access that in just a moment. So appreciate your time. Thanks for coming here. If you didn't have a moment, please try to log into Magic School if you want to. If not, you can go ahead and follow. If you don't feel like necessarily logging in, just at least make a note of Magic School. And if you haven't logged in already, or if you haven't heard of it from your colleagues, it's called Magic School, or you can just look at Magic School AI and just search that up on your web browser and it'll pop up. All right, so let me go ahead and share. I'm going to show you a quick presentation. It's going to be a couple of slides. I'm going to go through the slides quickly, and then I'm going to have the practical practice of showing you how it actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and explain what it is, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you what it does. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen real quick, and let me see if I can share the slides that I want to show you. And give me one moment. And here we go. All right, guys. So this is going to be elevating your lessons with AI innovation. So again, my name is Miguel Torres. I'm from PSJ Early College High School. I teach 11th and 12th grade. For the examples that I'm going to give you today, actually, they're going to be probably mostly social studies related, although it doesn't matter if you teach ELA. The same thing kind of applies. For science, it applies. For math, it applies as well. It's just something more in my wheel house in terms of me having more of a social studies and ELA background. But it can actually work for anything. And I'll even give you a math example at the very end. All right, so let's go ahead. This is a picture basically saying like, you know what, when we integrate AI, we basically need to have some sort of background, someone having our back. Basically, what we're trying to do is have innovative thinking. The reason I'm showing this photo is because if no one has your back, you're basically going to hit the ground. So what we're trying to do is give you the necessary tools to essentially engage the students. And so what we're trying to do is talk about what it's actually the purpose of it. So this is our kind of guideline for this session. We're going to be introducing AI. We're going to see how it works in education. I'm going to introduce Copilot in Magic School. I'm going to tell you how to actually look at effective prompting strategies. And when we look at effective prompting strategies, we actually need to be very specific in terms of what we're asking AI. Because if you ask AI, give me a question about the American Revolution, it'll only give you one question. But if you say, give me the questions of the American Revolution from an 8th grade lexile level, which means the language level of about 800, which would be like probably a middle schooler, then it becomes more specific. We're going to talk about how you incorporate the teeks and how AI can basically look at the teek. You can literally copy and paste the teek. And what will happen is the teek will actually create, it can actually generate questions off of the teek. So you can know if your students are mastering the teek at a certain degree. And we're going to look at different types of educational tools generated by AI. All right, so for those that haven't used it, I know most of us have, but if you haven't used AI before, basically what is it, right? It's basically a machine that performs typically that requires human intelligence. It's a machine learning that's natural language processing with neural networks that are examples of artificial intelligence. Essentially, what it's trying to do, it's just computing essentially that the information that we're giving it, and it's just feeding it right back to us. So why AI in education, right? So think of the impact it can actually have in terms of the efficiency and student engagement. If the students are engaged, then you know that you're doing a good job. You don't want to be the one that's going home tired. You need the students to go home tired because if you lean on AI, it can actually help you to where you're not so overspent and overworked. It gives you great ideas. And with the ideas that it's giving you, you can kind of modify them to shift it towards the lesson plans and towards the students of all calibers of learning. So again, I'm just going to give you a little bit of info, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you the practical information. So what actually I like about using Magic School and what I like about Copilot is it creates equity in terms of it helps students of all learning levels. It helps students, whether they're EBs, whether they're 5.4s, or whether they're SPEDs, whether they're GT, whether they're AP, you can contour the same lesson but using different like lexile or different modifications to help students of all learning systems or learning types, I'm sorry. So it helps with intelligent tutoring systems. It streamlines and assesses and processes. It means you can automatically grade it. If you export them to a Google form, for example, it automatically grades it and it already has the answers towards it. And I'll show you an example in just a little bit how Magic School actually does that. It provides timely feedback to students so they know their information right away. And it's a resource that helps us with our daily tasks. Like I said, lesson planning, emailing, translating. You can translate text from English to Spanish in a matter of seconds. It helps out for generating images. I'm gonna show you how you can generate images. And the generating images is actually really good, especially if you're creating a word wall or if you have those EB students who need more of a visual image to actually process what you're saying, right? So some of them need that, and I've used it in my classroom as well, especially with my word wall. Like I know some of our administrators would like to see more visuals in the classroom, especially I know when we have our students needing to process these words that we're having. So what's interesting too, like I said, the text levels can change. The Lexile can be different, and I'll show you. Yeah, between Lexile 800 or even if it's elementary, it can be lower, or even if it's AP and it can be like 1800 or 1580. You can literally is whatever you're typing that is specific, it will make sure that the student proficiency reading level is actually there. Also based off of the amount of text that you wanted. If you wanted under 300 words or over 400 words, it'll actually do it for you. It's for multi-level readers, right? For all the students in the same class, you can print out the same text and the text will be the same and you can differentiate it by reading levels as well. And the students can grasp the same thing. It helps for quizzes and assessments. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to export it in just a moment. And it helps for rubrics and grading. You can literally create a rubric on Magic School. And what the rubric does is it shows you and it helps the students guide themselves whether they're being proficient or not proficient in terms of the assessment that you're giving. All right. So a little bit about what Magic School actually is. It's an innovative platform. It's using AI technology. It's modeled by GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. It's a suitable model that basically ensures outputs, which means whenever we're putting an input in, which means we're asking it something, the output is going to basically give us something that is closely aligned to basically essentially what we're asking. Now, the benefits for the educators, right? Like, what is it for us, right? Or what is it if you're an administrator? What is it for your teachers, right? We have efficient planning. The planning can be specific. You can ask basically Copilot or Magic School, create a lesson. create a lesson for a 45-minute class. Some of us teach 45 minutes, some of us teach 90 minutes. It'll give you a breakdown of the materials that you need, the entry ticket, the middle of guided practice, and it'll give you the end as well. It gives you a simplified workflow. So, it has pre-prompts, and I'll show you some pre-prompts in a little while too. Like, it gives you questions that maybe you want to ask your students, and it gives you kind of the responses that you maybe want your students to entail or basically feed back on. And basically, it's creating a learning environment in terms of uh, making it interactive. It gives you several ideas. Instead of going back and doing the same thing you did last year or the year before or the year before, it helps you out. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is a little bit more about what Magic School AI does. So if you didn't click the link, or if you're wanting to follow through, you can do that as well. So this is what actually Magic AI, this is what like the resource and tools look like on their homepage. So if you're looking at this, when you go to Magic School, if you click the link, or if you just happen to type basically Magic School AI and then find it on your browser, this is what it's going to look like. These are all of the tools that they offer. And it goes in tandem with Copilot in a moment, which I'll explain is because you can generate ideas off of Copilot, and then you can enter them basically in Magic School. So it aids in everything from lesson planning to assessments. You can see over here, we have lesson plans, we have multi-step assessments, we have data table analysis, we have multiple choice assessments, and so forth. You have lesson planning, you can create rubrics. So let me go ahead and show you the first thing. The first thing that I want to tell you about is a lot of our curriculum coordinators and specialists, when we were working this summer, some of us were like, well, how do we know the students are mastering the teeks? So what we would do is we would input the teak inside of a multiple choice assessment, and what we would see is, are the students mastering it? Maybe maybe we need to reteach if the students aren't mastering it. So on the top left, you select the tool. The input that you're going to put on the left side, if you don't know what to do, and I'm going to show you the example right now in just a second, there's highlighted the exemplar. The exemplar has a prompt at the very bottom that says diagnostic assessment of the processes of mitosis. Now, the output on the right side was, if you're a science teacher and you put 7th grade and you had the drop-down menu, you can always put it back 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. What happens is it changes the complexity and the lexile levels for the questioning. Now, you can always change the number of questions. You can go from 5 to 20. So if you want to make a 20-question assessment or a unit assessment, you can go ahead and do that as well. So if you go ahead and you put on the text or the standard, you can put a teak there if you want to as well. On the output, it's actually creating the questions that would come out. And now the interesting thing is on the very right side, you can export it either to Google Docs, whether you want to share it to students that way. Google Forms will automatically create it for you. Microsoft Forms, or export to Word. If you don't want the students to be online and you don't want them to hypothetically cheat, put it on Word, print it out, give it to the students that way. And it can be for anything. You don't have to print out a teak. You can literally just type in anything, just like it says diagnostic assessment of mitosis. You can go ahead and put anything about, like, let's just say World War I or World War II, like what were the causes of World War I and what were the causes of World War II? You can get extremely specific. You can say what were the causes of World War I or II in the 9th grade level, so that the verbiage comes out that it's not so difficult for students to understand. Now, I'm going to show you this as well. This is another cool tool. This one is about YouTube videos. Now, interestingly, like enough, you can actually copy and paste a hyperlinked video from YouTube. Magic School will actually kind of like extrapolate and like look through the video quickly, and it'll create questions for you. So this is another multiple choice kind of instrument that you can use. And so if you go ahead and just look at a video, and if you're showing a video to your students and you want to make sure that they are paying attention, that would be a great way. You can always stop it and pause it, or you can just wait for a video to finish, and then you can give them an assessment. It can be a do now, or it can also be an exit ticket. Thing is, for these YouTube videos, they can't be too long. I think there's only like a 15-minute window. After that, the videos become too long, and you can't really use that link. So if you go ahead and use a YouTube video, you can do the same thing. You can actually export it to Docs, Forms, Microsoft, and Word. Uh, so while the video is showing, and if you want to print out a sheet and have the students look at it, they can be answering as the video is playing. So this is another one, and this is probably one of the last things I'm going to talk about for Magic School is when we look at unpacking standard unpacker, it can do the same thing. If you pick a standard, like on the bottom left, you have to type the standard out. It's not going to have like a drop down for the standard. When you start to unpack the standard and you just, copy and paste anything that you see from the teeks website, or if you use teeks resources, which the district has, we have teeks resources, whether your curriculum coordinators have it or whether you have it, you can go ahead and just ask them. But if you just look up a random teak, it tells you basically the breakdown in terms of the skills needed, the knowledge needed, the concepts needed, the format for the learning targets, and basically gives you a summarize about essentially what the students are supposed to understand. And I'll show you that just in a moment as well. So let me go ahead. So let me give you the demo in terms of how that works. Some of the things that I showed you, I'm just going to go ahead and give me 1 second. And let's see. All right. So if you can see my screen right now, this is actually what the Magic School kind of like toolbar looks like. The things that you can do are pretty interesting. It saves you a lot of time, like lesson planning. I said there's a rubric generator, there's a text rewriter. So if you want to copy and paste something, let's just say from the encyclopedia or from the Britannica, or if you use News ELA, you can rewrite it so it customizes it in terms of, if you want to use like, English emerging English or EB students basically needing to have something towards the level that they need. There's also like 504 lesson planners. There's an image generator, which you can basically type anything that you want. Let's just say manifest destiny. It'll show you some people moving from from the east to the west, and so forth. So there's professional emails. If you want to send a professional email or an email responder, it's kind of like Grammarly in the way that if you want to respond to a teacher, it'll work that way. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you the first part that I was talking about. It's called multiple choice assessment. All right, so if you go ahead and look at multiple choice assessment, this is what it looks like. And this is the exemplar right here that's going to show me the diagnostic of, let's just say, it's a diagnostic on the process of mitosis, which I showed earlier. So you're going to go ahead and click it. You always have the drop-down menu. You can do between 5 and 20 questions. You'll go ahead and generate. So right now it's going ahead and it's generating basically 5 questions, right? And you don't have to do the exemplar. It's only just an example, obviously. But when you go down, some of the other key features that you can actually look at are right down here. These are 2 different tools. They're not questions. They're just asking like follow-up questions. Like, can you explain the significance of each phase, right? Maybe that's something you want to ask your students after they've answered these questions. Maybe that's a short answer question that you actually want to have, right? And it just basically tells you. Oh, I'm sorry. So it does give you these questions, and it basically just it's asking, it's further developing, and it gives you the answer key as well. And like I said before, you can export these things, right? So if I wanted to export this, I can go to Google Forms. It'll link up to your Google Form account if you want to go to Google Docs and so forth, right? Or you just want to print it out. You can save it on your thumb drive and then print it out. So these tools at the bottom are actually very helpful. All right. So that's how the multiple choice assessment works. Now, let me go to the next part. I know I was talking about YouTube, right? And some of you all that want to use a video, or if you want to encourage your teachers to use a video, or if you want to use a video, I know some of us who have 90-minute classes, we're like, wow, I can't just speak all day. I need my students to watch something that's more practical. There's a YouTube questions right here, and you can go ahead and click that. And so when we see the YouTube videos right there, it's going to ask you how many questions you want. Do you want a multiple choice? Do you want free response? Do you want true or false? Like you can literally do anything you want. So let's just go ahead and let's go ahead and let's just do free response. I already selected a video. And what I'm going to do is I picked a video on Manifest Destiny. It's on Crash Course. Simply all you do is you click the link that you have on YouTube and you go back. And what you can end up doing is copy paste YouTube questions. You go ahead and generate. So it just literally looked at the video, and in a matter of seconds, it created open-ended questions. Same thing can happen for true or false. Same thing can actually happen for multiple choice. It gives you the answer key. It won't obviously give the students the answer key, but when you export it, it's same thing. It's not going to give the students the answers. It's only for you. So you can go ahead and do the same thing for exporting. It's basically seamless. Like, so if you're having trouble even yourself understanding the answers watching a video or knowing the questions, the multiple choice and essentially YouTube can basically help you out. It'll give you the rationale. Okay, so after that, one of the interesting things I thought when you go back to the toolbar and the resources right here, there's the DOK questions. And DOK, depth of knowledge. So we all know from Bloom's taxonomy, the information that we have from DOK 1 to 4 changes. Maybe when you're introducing a topic, you want to start with DOK 1 or 2. And then at the end of a unit or the end of a lesson, you can end up with DOK 3 or 4, right? So when you go ahead and click DOK questions, it'll go ahead and it'll look like this, right? So let's go ahead and select a grade level. Let me go ahead and put 8th grade. Let's just say I'm an 8th grade teacher. I don't want to use the exemplar anymore. Let's use more of a practical thing. We have access, or maybe your curriculum coordinators do, but you might want to check. It is called the teeks resource system. So we have it purchased from PSJA. So if you want to, so again, it's called the teeks resource system. You use your credentials from PSJA to log in, right? So don't worry about it. Your username and password should be saved, unless it's a new teacher, probably. So teeks resource system is something that the curriculum coordinators were using throughout the summer. And what we're trying to do is, not only does it have the teeks, it has a couple of different things in terms of vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, unpacking standards. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm in 8th grade. Even though I do high school, I'm going to go ahead and pick 8th grade, and I'm going to just put social studies. And I'm going to go ahead and search. Right. Okay. So if you don't have access to the site, it's fine. Just use the regular teak site that we have, the regular teak site that you can find. But the thing about this website is it has a little bit more information in terms of alignment, clarification, year at a glance. It tells you year at a glance whether it's 1 semester, 2 semesters, and so forth. All right. So I'm going to show you how depth of knowledge can actually be increased from DOK 1 to DOK 4, but I'm going to use a teak. You don't have to use a teak. You can literally just write a question saying, how did the Spanish-American War start? And it'll give you DOK questions that will essentially test the student's knowledge. Maybe you want to give them that information at the beginning as an entry, and then at the exit, again, maybe DOK 3 or 4. Let me just go to teaks clarification, right? So teaks clarification is just basically giving me the entire teak. So when I look at the entire teak, I just picked Manifest Destiny because I picked 8th grade. I'm just going to go ahead and copy, let's just say westward expansion. You can literally copy a teek, right? You can just go ahead and copy a teek. You can go right back to DOK, right? I'm not going to use mitosis anymore. I already used it. Let's go ahead and do this. I copied, I pasted. Let's just see what the DOK questions would actually be. Right. So now you have it already created everything. And again, it gives you the two tools at the bottoms in terms of like how you can provide examples and activities for this. It tells you what resources you might need to use. And it tells you from DOK1, students just simply recall. DOK2, students have a concept or a graph. DOK3 and 4. So what's happening is you can use this using a teak, or you can just say, what is manifest destiny DOK levels? Sorry about that. So even if you want to type something like that, like what's just regular manifest destiny, boom. So you don't have to use a teak. You can actually just type in whatever you want. So remember, when we're going back to the tools, that's the DOK question generator. And it really helps out knowing if the students are mastering the skill, and like especially tested students, not only test students, like even AP students or anything of that nature. You really want to make sure you utilize the DOKs so that you know that the students are actually growing and they're not staying the same and just recalling. That's something you don't want to do necessarily. All right. So there we go. We had the multiple choice that we went over. We went over the YouTube. We went over DOKs. All right. So there's other features. I don't have enough time to go through other things, but when you do go on Magic School, it has a lot of different things in terms of like image generator. I'm going to do that in a little bit with Copilot. So I'm going to talk about Copilot in just a moment. Survey creator for your students, lesson planning, like I said, text rewriter, and so forth, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my presentation and right. All right. So that was kind of like the Magic School demo. Let's go now to like Copilot. All right. So um, this is how you're going to prompt for lesson planning and activities, right? Where you have to have a clear objective. You have to be specific in your prompts. Like I said earlier, when we use AI, the more specific you are, the better it's going to get. If you teach ninth grade, say, tell me how ninth grade mitosis for biology 1 students work with a lexile. I always say the word lexile, but just depending on the student's verbiage and how much they can comprehend. You can say with the lexile level of 900, under 400 words. You want to be specific, because if you're not specific, it'll just give you something general and it'll give you something random. All right. You want to the reason it's really good is because it incorporates differentiated learning. It's good for personalized content. You explore the AI tools and lesson creation, and it's engaging. Just like I said, it's more engaging, like, using the YouTube, or it's more engaging using, those open-ended questions rather than just speaking and just having them watch, right? So here's an example. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the inputs and outputs really quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you the practical responses. This is a little specific, but when you get more specific, it'll be exactly what you want. So for this example, we're doing, can you create a 3-tier leveled reader about westward growth in the nation, including the Louisiana Purchase, sorry about that, and Manifest Destiny. The audience is an 8th grade student, so we're being specific for students, and some of the students are emerging bilingual students, right? So we have our EBs in there. Below the level of 200 maximum words, at the maximum of 300 words, right? And the advanced level is 400 words, right? So we're already differentiating right there. The advanced level is 400 maximum words, and we're using the teek. We're being extremely specific. We're using the teek. We're saying what we want. We're saying who the audience is, and we're also differentiating by saying we have EBs, right? So The below level we have right there, which is the 200 maximum words for Louisiana Purchase and for Manifest Destiny. That's the input that we put in, and that's the output. And this is the advanced one. This is the continuation in terms of the advanced on the right side was 400 words. So if you want the students to kind of learn the same thing in the same class, you can differentiate by having the same input, and it creates two different things for you. It gives you the general level, and then you can have an advanced level in terms of having the Louisiana Purchase and Manifest Destiny and so forth. So I think that's kind of interesting because you all know your students, and you don't want students to be left behind, and you don't want some students to be bored. So if you want them to be at the same level with equity, it's interesting to use Copilot, but you have to be specific. All right. So here's another example real quick. And this one creates activities. So you want a three-tiered text, create an activity, right? So we're creating activity. This is for, again, we're having our audience, the 8th grade students explaining the Louisiana Purchase and Manifest Destiny. Not only do we have students explain the events, but also have these events affected by the United States history and government. And we use the teeks. It gives you the objective, it gives you the materials you need, and it tells you even group formation, how you should discuss. It even tells you like a puzzle creation in terms of what's an activity. Like if you don't know what to do that day, or maybe the last period that you just had didn't go as well as planned, you can go ahead and just think about, you know what? Let me use AI. Let me use Copilot. Let me use Copilot to see if I can have a different thing. Like, let's just say a puzzle creation, right? And it's giving you all the information that you need. So when you're lesson planning, especially, this helps out, and it even helps out on the spot, even if you're not um, fully prepared or something didn't work out the last period, you know. So I think that it's an interesting tool that it gives you absolutely lesson planning, and it gives you ideas in terms of it really helps you out with your ideas. No, I apologize. I know I'm going kind of fast. I'll look at questions, or I don't even have the chat box open at the moment, but I will look at it in just a moment, but to help you out with anything that you need. But I just think it's interesting that it actually helps teachers. And like I said at the beginning of the slides, when I said it helps out with planning, it helps out with activities, it helps you out with like not burning out. It's essentially here to help you. All right, now this is like like an entry ticket, for example. You can create a short open-ended question. This one happens to be with math, right? So can you create, when you look at Copilot, can you create a short open-ended question? And then we're being specific again with 8th grade students who can explain their prior knowledge to what they think is slope. So we have a stock image of a mountain, and we're saying use the teak. So I can't stress it enough. If you put the teak in there, Copilot more than likely will give you the response that you need. You need to use the teak. If you don't have the teak correctly, you can just copy and paste the entire teak if you wanted to. So these are actually the questions, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the questions that you might ask as an entry ticket, or you can even use it as an exit ticket if you want to. It doesn't have to be like that. Now, it gives you the question, but the two other bullet points are, hey, these are the responses you're probably wanting to look for, right? How can you calculate slope? What does it represent? What does the y-intercept represent, and so forth, right? And how does slope relate to real world questions? So when you're using these, you got to be specific um, in terms of what you want the students to explain back to you. All right. Now, one of the things that I like are, you can create a prompt that says like, create 10 exciting think pair shares, right? You want to create an activity for your students. Create 10 think pair shares and use this teak and make it no more than 5 minutes. Thing is, you want to explain or display how much time that you have, just aside from our audience, like we're saying 8th grade, and besides the content that we have, like T, you want to say the duration of time that you have, because if we're creating a lesson plan, you want to make sure that when you're using like Copilot, that nothing is exceeding the time that you have or too short. If you just ask it randomly, like create a project, it's not going to have a timeline for you. You want to say create it in under 5 minutes. And what it's doing is it's giving us our 10 ideas right here. But the cool thing is the things that are highlighted are they're using Bloom's taxonomy, basically. Explore, imagine, investigate, right? So when you're using Copilot, it's giving you this information. The one thing I have to give you caution about is some of the photos, like the one that you're seeing on the right side, it says not all of the images and the text are correct. Some of them, like some of the terms on the right side are a little misspelled, and that's because it would be copyright infringement upon textbooks in which they took these photos in. So cytoplasm, for instance, on the right side is misspelled. So when you're using AI, like I said, like, it could be 80% you and 20% AI, or however you want to do it, but just make sure that you're kind of combing over what you're looking at, because you don't want students to get the wrong impression in terms of like what they're spelling. That's the only kind of caveat that there is. It happens to do with copyright for AI, that they can't necessarily give you like the exact stock textbook spelling. All right. This is one of the last things I'll say, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you the practical experience in terms of how to use AI Copilot. Um, you know, Same thing for EB and SPED accommodations. Create a list of 3 activities for 8th grade students, right? So we're being specific. 3 activities, 8th grade students, 15th Amendment, teak, right? 15 minutes or less. Include accommodations for students with special needs. Include accommodations for EB students, right? And so what happens is it gives you basically the timing, and it gives you everything approximately 10 minutes. It tells you already divide students into small groups, provide each group with a set of key events, and then response accommodations too for EB students, offer bilingual material, right? So, in both English and their native tongue. So what happens is you can actually put EB and SPED accommodations on Copilot, and it'll give it to you. So especially like if it's a first or second or third year teacher, and they haven't dealt much with this population, this might actually be an extremely important tool for them to actually use, because they might not know how to differentiate. They might not know how to divide students in different groups. So I feel like EB and SPED accommodations, go ahead, just be specific with it, using the teeks, whatever you want, the population you have, and the time that you need. All right. So, for instance, show me a map of where the Civil War took place, right? Just use, this is the thing about Copilot that I really like. At the bottom of Copilot, you actually, and I mentioned this before, you see the references. You don't get that on ChatGPT, and you don't get that on Magic School. Magic School has its own kind of built-in AI that I didn't show you, because I feel like Copilot is a little better to get your information and then use that information and incorporate it in some of the things that I showed you for Magic School. So, like at the bottom, it tells you, hey, battlefield.org, PBS battlefields, loc.gov, and so forth. And if you feel like the answer isn't sufficient, go ahead and click the links, click the references anyways. And when you click the references, it'll show you the web page and it'll pop right up. So that's the cool thing about using Copilot, is it gives you the references so that you know that it's somewhat legitimate, like that it's not just popping it out of anywhere. All right, so let me go ahead and show you a live demo real quick of Copilot. So when you open up your browser, just when you're opening up Edge, Copilot is actually just this symbol right here. You don't have to type copilot.com. You don't have to do anything like that. When we're using our work credentials and so forth, it's already built in, right? So we have Copilot. All right, so it basically says, ask me anything. So just to give you an example, let's talk about a lesson plan. I'm going to say, create a lesson plan that is 45 minutes for 8th grade.
Mike.
Yep.
Real quick, it's just showing the PowerPoint.
Oh, my bad. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share. right, my bad. Technical difficulty. All right. All right, you can see that, right?
Looks good.
All right. So let's go ahead and create a lesson plan that is 45 minutes for 8th grade students about manifest destiny and include activities for EB and SPED students. So it gives you the duration. It tells you right here. It's going ahead and saying 8th grade, 45 minutes. These are your objectives. So that can be like your LO and your CL. It gives you the materials that you need. It gives you the introduction, the hook, basically the entry ticket or how you're going to get them, the discussion, the objective. It tells you what to do. Basically, it's creating the lesson plan for you. You can always modify it towards whatever you want. It's just giving you kind of a roadmap in terms of like what you would actually want to be looking for. All right. So, and it gives you the conclusion, tells you the exit ticket, and then it has even activities for EB and SPED students too. It gives you visuals, it gives you sample text, it gives you graphic organizers, tells you peer support. So essentially, the more specific that you are, and I don't have time to like really look up a teak or it would take a little bit of time, but you can go ahead and be as specific as you want. You can put 45 minutes. You can go ahead and put 90 minutes. You can just put a 5-minute entry ticket. You know, what are activities that the students want to do. So this is like a lesson plan. You can even do something like, um, um, let's just say 5-day lesson plan over let's just say I teach economics, so fiscal policy for 12th grade students. 5-day lesson plan over fiscal policy for 12th grade students in advanced placement. So it'll go ahead and even give you a 5-day, like telling you day one, what are you doing? And it tells you everything in terms of the discussion, the activity, day 2, day 3, day 4. And so not only like, I'm not just saying just it's good for lesson planning, it's good for activities, like as I said up here, if you want to know what to do on a daily basis. And it's good back here also for, you know, whether you want to have, guys, you can even do not only 5 days. Some of our curriculum coordinators also did what's a 30-day. We did it for, you know, for all 9 months. Like, what do I do for 9 months? And so it just popped out, what do we do for 9 months? And that's kind of like how your scope and sequence is going to look when you go back and we go back to work and see what does it look like. Some of this stuff was generated by Copilot. Actually, a lot of it was generated by Copilot. When you go back and we see our scope and sequence, it's not that it changed, it's just helping us out and it's helping us manage our time. So other than that, guys, let me see. Let me pop this back up. All right. Do you guys have any, that's pretty much it for what I have at the moment. I'm just saying use Copilot in tandem with using Magic School. And there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of resources, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. You can go ahead and type it now. So I guess I'll be open. I know it's getting ready. We only have a little bit of time. Does anybody have any questions or anything that you would like to share? Yeah, Mr. Lejos.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Um, I logged in a little bit late, so I only caught like the last bit of part of the conversation that you were having at the beginning, that we might be losing the license to some of these AI programs. Which program were you referring to, just for clarification?
Magic School. And the difference is we're still going to have Magic School. It's a free license. Even when we run out of the license or when the license expires, we still have access to it. It's going to be free. The only difference is the assessments that I was talking about, like YouTube or creating multiple choice and all those things, it's only limited to 5. And then after 5, then the next one will expire. So having essentially just having just like it's basically having unlimited data compared to just having like limited data essentially. So the tools are still there. You just might and a really good point that you brought up, you might want to save everything before the license expires to a PDF. Save everything, put it on the cloud. As long as we have unlimited rain to it at this moment, save as much as you possibly can, just in case when it does expire, you can have everything backed up. Cool. Nice
Okay, thank you
question.
so much.
No, thank you. And remember, like Mr. Parker's saying, you use your district account information to log on to Magic School. And so for Copilot, we're good on that. And thanks, Miss Alvarado. I like it a lot. The you can actually your teachers can actually purchase the Magic School account, like if you want the premium one. I don't know. I think it's like $12 a month. That would be up to your teachers, or if your department or your administration who actually wants to purchase it for the teachers, or by department, they can do that as well. It just comes up to the teachers requesting their administration to see if they want to purchase it for them. Then it would come out of the school's budget rather than the district budget, which we currently only had, I believe, 1 year, and it's already expiring as soon as this year comes in. Yes, it's good for the SGMs as well. The students, the teachers can really use that, especially for growth, and everything can be documented through Magic School. If they want to see that the students have had growth, remember they can always export the information that they have, from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year to the end of the year. Everything can be documented if they were using Google Forms, for example. And yeah, it's easy to use. You just need to get acquainted to it. You mess around with it for just a little bit. Thank you, Elizabeth. Um, it really does a lot, and it makes going to work pretty much like a lot easier when you know what to ask specifically, and in the correct way. It really helps all teachers, but I would feel like, especially if you're a mentor teacher or administrator, and especially those new teachers who are, they struggle in the first couple of like weeks or days and stuff like that, just say, don't worry, like here it is, like you can help yourself out. Yes, it is. That's great for early childhood teachers. Yeah. And remember, you can even put like the grade level of whether it's pre-K, you know, through all the way through 12th grade. It definitely helps out. Like it doesn't matter, and it's really contoured, especially Magic School. I'm saying just get your ideas from Copilot and kind of put that information, and then you can go ahead and like incorporate that with Magic School. So if I were you, I would definitely use Magic School as much as you possibly can between here and the beginning of the school year, and then just save everything as a PDF, or using your school credentials. And I would think that's the best thing you could possibly do. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks for all the feedback. Um, Yeah, yeah, yes, Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, it really does. It helps out. You can just put your teeks in there as well, and just it'll pop out anything, whether it's multiple choice or whether it's going to be open. I didn't even get to all the other tools. I only showed you 3 tools from Magic School, and I only showed you 2 examples from Copilot. But as long as you kind of just tinker around with it, maybe let your department heads know and disseminate, or your CLLs during CLLs or your CLCs, and then just let those people kind of like also show your teachers this information, because it would help out a lot. I think so. And a lot of people, I always say like, well, how can we teach like you know today's students with like yesterday's tactics? Like we can't just, I know we need to read, reading and writing, and writing on paper is key. That's certainly done, but I'm saying we need to use like basically innovation, and we need to use like tomorrow's innovation to basically teach the students of today. That's why I feel like the students would be more engaged. Yes, the session's recorded, and Miss Alvarado, I'm gonna send Miss Debbie Pingle the PowerPoint so that you have the same information and the same links, and everything will be saved. So if you want to go ahead and even use that to share your campus as well. No, you're welcome. So Miss Pingle will get a copy of this, or Mr. Valentin as well. You all have a good afternoon. I know there's only 5 minutes left, and you probably have another session, or you have lunch to go to. Appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Alvarado. You all have a good afternoon. If there's any questions, let me know. I'm going to be back like at 2 o'clock in case you want to join again.